already that need to be filled out before I arrive at that point of the agenda, which will come up quite quickly, by the way. And those forms are available in the foyer. And then when you fill them out, please deliver them right over here if you would, so that they can make their way up to me. Because when I do get to that point in the agenda, if I don't have it, I won't be accepting any more forms. And so I want to let you know that. Second of all, I want to let you know that we, in the structure of our business meeting, which is what we're doing tonight, that we allow for 30 minutes to do public comment. And so normally we would allow up to 5 minutes for someone to make comment, and then an additional 5 minutes if there's a need for language translation. However, since we have numerous, we will, as we have had to do, we will be reducing the speaking time for those who come forward. So start kind of thinking about how you want to organize your comments, since you will have less time than you might have planned. Also, if there are any accommodations that you need for any kind of a disability, please notify us ahead of time so that we can make those accommodations and plan for that. And the more notification, preferably 48 hours, is preferred. Also, civility. We want to be sure we hear everyone's comments. So as people come up to the podium, I just want to be sure that others in the audience remain respectful so that we can hear everything they have to say. So with that, let's go on to our minutes from our last meeting. Oh, anyone, a motion, and then we'll see if anyone has any corrections or what have you.
I'll make a motion that we recommend the superintendent of schools that the Board of Education approve the minutes of the regular meeting for July 27th, 2021.
I'll second.
Thank you. I have a motion from Mr. Youngblood and a second from Mrs. Blades. Are there any additions or corrections that anyone spotted?
I found something in the general functions, number 3 on the lactation accommodations. So it's listed in there as that I made the motion and Mrs. Buck made the second, and it should be Mrs. Blades made the second.
Okay. Duly noted. Thank you. We will make that correction so that when we file those, that we have that correct. Okay. Any others? Okay. All right. So with that and that correction, I will call for the vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion is passed unanimously. Okay, so where are we? Okay. I have hopefully all cards here. If not, run now. Everyone's got it in? Okay, thank you. All right, so we have 21 speakers. I'm going to go ahead and have a minute and a half for everyone who comes forward. So when you come to the podium, please, if you would observe that. We do have quickly. I haven't finished my sentence so quickly. 22. All right, so anyway, there will be a buzzer that will go off. So hopefully you've concluded before that, but if not, when that bell goes off, if you would wrap it up right then. I don't want to have to interrupt anyone to ask them to do so. And I also will call 3 people at a time, just so you kind of know who's coming up. That way you can kind of be ready, and it'll kind of move us through this so that we can be able to hopefully get this completed in a time frame that allows us to continue with the rest of our meeting tonight. So the first person speaking will be LaDonna Gundling, then Courtney Jacques, and then followed by Emily Taylor.
Okay, I've never done this before. Do I just start speaking?
Yes.
Okay. First of all, thank you. Thank you for allowing us the voice and the freedom to be able to come up here and speak how we feel. I love that you guys listened to us and 3 of you were willing to take our plea to the state, even though I understand the mask mandate is out of your control. I appreciate and thank you for at least listening and trying to help the people you represent. And since you did say you want to hear us, Ms. Freeman, you represent my area. And I want you to know, I think that there are some things you do very well. And I do not mean this as a criticism at all, but I want you to hear me very clearly. You represent my area, the people I hang out with, my children. They're ready to give up their mask. No science supports it. And I want you to also be on the same page as those who are requesting the state to make this exemption. And as far as the ethnic studies go that we are speaking of, again, as my representative, I want you to understand, I do not want my children to think authority, law enforcement are bad people. Every time we're in trouble, who do we call? They are not the enemy. There are bad people in every grouping and every situation. I agree. There are reforms needed in all areas, for sure. But I don't think we need to start targeting people and teaching our children who we like, who's a victim, who's the enemy. That's not okay. I understand my time's up. Thank you. I appreciate it. And I'm glad that you listened.
Thank you. Courtney?
Good evening. I wanted to thank you for taking the time to listen to our concerns regarding the Newsella program. I'm sorry if I'm saying that incorrectly. Newsella has content that I'm not comfortable with my child reading by herself. I believe that many of the articles are inappropriate for students. Several of the articles I have seen offered by them are highly controversial topics and have no place in public school education. Our children are bombarded by several of these topics in social media, news, and on their favorite TV programs already. So let's use our school hours to focus on core fundamentals such as math, science, reading, music, art, and history. To me, this is not political, it's just common sense. Sensitive topics should be taught and discussed at home. Our family talks about many of the issues in our home. We do not want to shelter our child or raise her in a bubble. The goal is not to only expose her to what our family personally believes and agree with. Having said that, we're very careful about how we word things and about what content we believe our daughter can understand and comprehend in a mature way. We teach respect, grace, and empathy. Many of the articles offered on Newsella site are topics that we definitely want to talk to our daughter about, but that's just it. We want to talk to her about those topics in the safety of our home, where she can ask honest questions and we can give honest answers. Many of these articles touch on very personal and touchy subjects, and we want her to have the freedom to talk about those subjects in a safe place. I also think that many of the articles I have seen are not age appropriate for my daughter, and I believe many of them give a very one-sided story, take liberties with the truth, and glamorize events and subjects. I would ask you to please reconsider maybe using a different program.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Emily Taylor, and I come here as an elementary school teacher in our wonderful district and also a parent of an incoming second grade daughter. I'm here tonight to ask for the school district to allow mass choice to be put on the agenda. It is time our parents regain the ability to make the best choice for their children. As a teacher, I've seen the direct negative impact forced masking has had on our students. Seeing people speak is an essential building block of phonetic development, and facial expressions are fundamental to human connection, particularly for young children who are only learning how to signal happiness, confusion, and fear. Covering a child's face mutes these nonverbal forms of communication and result in robotic, emotionless interactions, anxiety, and depression. During this past school year, when the district finally lifted the mask mandate outside of the school, it broke my heart to watch my students exit the classroom to go play at recess and remove their masks and say, I can finally breathe. It was tough to hear 6-year-olds saying that. When I would pull my mask down to drink water, they would stare at me in awe because they had no idea what I looked like. And it broke my heart. My own daughter, who's going into second grade, developed a bacterial infection on her face from wearing a mask. She's a rule follower and was scared to remove it even to drink water. When she would get in the car after school, she would guzzle a whole bottle of water. She loves school, but is hesitant to go this year, even coming to mommy's school. Please consider mass choice for our students and allow parents to make that choice.
All right, the next three individuals to come forward will be Shani Brune, Joan Herrick, Linda Cohn.
Hi, everyone. My name is Shani Boone. I come as twofold here. I am a school district employee and I love working in PYLUSD. I also have two children. Actually, one just graduated high school and one is going to be a junior this year. I'm a speech therapist. If anyone knows how important it is to see someone's mouth, she's standing right here. I work with preschoolers. I try to teach them how to form sounds, produce words. It is so hard to do it with a mask on. I'm vaccinated. I'm double masked tonight. My kids are both vaccinated, and my son just got COVID because he was vaccinated. And we were told, you know, if you're vaccinated, you couldn't be without a mask. I get it. I was the first one to take mine off, going into Trader Joe's, all the stores. And then he came home and he tested positive for COVID, and he swore he would have been on a ventilator had he not had a vaccine. His lungs are horrible. It was horrible listening to him coughing. And I just feel like a classroom is going to be a cesspool for spreading COVID. Again, I want to be without the masks when it's appropriate to be without the masks. But for me, I'm scared that it's going to just spread like wildfire in the classrooms. And so I ask that we continue to take science and what the Public Department of Health recommends for classrooms where there's a lot of children who either are or are not vaccinated to stop the spread of COVID in our classrooms. Thank you.
Hi there. I'm speaking today as a mother. In June, we were all excited to be back on the fast track toward normal when coronavirus took a sharp turn, and now we're dealing with a more contagious, faster spreading new Delta variant of the virus. It has recently been reported that the highest rate of hospitalization from COVID is those ages 30 to 50 years old who are unvaccinated. That would be the ages, oops, I'm sorry. That would be the ages of most of the parents in this room. And children also are getting sick and hospitalized. I'm 75 years old. I'm probably the oldest person in the room. I could be your mother. I could be your children's grandmother. As a mother, I'm intensely protective. I care deeply. So as a mom, just as a mom, I ask two things. One, I encourage you to get vaccinated. Health professionals agree it's the best protection from COVID-19. And then number two, to the board to enforce and for the community to support the state mask mandate if required. The best health practices that you had in place, I'm sorry to talk with my hands. The best health practices that you had in your schools last year kept them safe last year, and they can again. Thank you. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Linda Cohn. I've taught high school for 32 years. I now teach 3-year-olds at my church. I've read an awful lot of research. I commend you for giving parent choice if you can. And I do clearly support parent choice. Previous speaker is not the oldest lady in the room. I have at least 4 years on her. And I try to avoid wearing the mask whenever I can. I haven't had a mask on in 2 months. I'm here to speak on an entirely different issue, and all I have time to do is repeat 5 points that I was going to develop in detail. The issue is ethnic studies, specifically the ethnic studies model curriculum that is the de facto program or curriculum in AB 101. I have at least 5 concerns about this curriculum. I only have time to highlight them. First, the proponents of this curriculum constantly claim that a large body of research shows that ethnic studies has had a very positive impact on students. This research has been challenged and questioned in detail by several documents. I have the documents here. I'll leave them at the desk as a misrepresentation of social science research and unsubstantial claims. I see my time is up. The four will have to wait.
The next three, the first will be Michael Barkulis, followed by, I hope I have this correct, Griva Romani, followed by Katie Chow.
Hi there. I'm here as a concerned parent representing my wife and two kids, which are also here. Everybody keeps saying, let's go by the science. So let's actually look at the science. Ages 0 through 4, as of the 4th of August, 2021, 128 deaths from COVID. From 5 to 18, 288 deaths. So that is, I'm not that good at math, but roughly 400. There are 330 million Americans. So you have a 1 in 1 million chance of dying from this in that age group. And what I want to point out is most of those, if not all of those, were comorbid, where they had very serious comorbidities such as asthma or even in a lot of cases, leukemia. So we're classifying, especially in that age group, as COVID, which is totally misclassified. And just for a little context, in 2019, which was the last time we actually called flu deaths, because we just misclassify every death as COVID now, we've got 0 to 4, 265 deaths, and 5 to 17. They don't even include 18 because 18 was, there's a lot there, 211. So then you have 18 to 49 is 2,450. So for a little perspective, more people died in 2019 and in that age group from the flu than have died in the entirety of the pandemic. Just a perspective, and I'll just add one last thing. Everyone here is unmasked. You have the choice to be unmasked. Why are we masking our kids without a choice?
Hello, Hello, my name is Griva Ramani, and I'm a student organizer at Diversify Our Narrative PYLUSD. What my fellow group members and I would like to share with you are some testimonies of racism that students of color have been facing in our district. These harmful experiences are just a handful of hundreds, and we wish to shed light on these issues that have been prevalent in our district for years on end. Our words are simply reflecting the voices of our student body. To begin with, on Halloween Day, 2 Caucasian girls showed up to school dressed as what they called 7-Eleven workers. The title of this costume sounds harmless, but yet one student was wearing a turban and one was wearing a bindi, which is the red dot that is worn between the eyebrows. An entire culture was reduced and degraded down to stereotypical costume, and yet no one did anything to educate these 2 girls on why this is wrong and why this is unacceptable. Another student recalls a separate encounter of racism in this district. This student was shamed for bringing in their own ethnic food by their peers, ridiculed with their fake gagging and shouts of disgust. This happened so frequently that the student threw away their lunch every time it wasn't Western food. The student was only in kindergarten, and they're already concerned with being different from their classmates. The first testimony I shared with you is from a student who was in the class of 2012, and the second one is from a student who was in the class of 2024. Racism has been present in this district for years, and it is still a prevalent issue that students of color are facing on a day-to-day basis. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Katie Chow, and I would like to share testimony on behalf of my sister. She is a student at an elementary school in this district, and at this school, she has faced bullying, harassment, and racism. Her friends, who also happen to be people of color, received the same treatment from other classmates. My sister specifically was called, quote, rice picker, and was asked multiple times if she ate dogs or cats. Another classmate stretched their eyes to mock her, and on another occasion, a book about eating dogs was thrown at her. These stereotypes and normalized behaviors are perpetuated against her, and her ethnic identity was attacked and blatantly scrutinized. She reported her experiences to her teacher and principal, and after confronting the student about their actions, the principal told her, quote, "You know he's German, right?" As if to say that these actions were tolerable or that this fact had somehow made the student susceptible to understanding the consequences and the impact of their behavior. My sister is only 12. Thank you.
The next three individuals coming forth will be Maggie Nguyen, Abigail Lee, and Barrett Elder.
Hello, my name is Maggie Nguyen, and I will discuss the experience of an East Asian immigrant who arrived in the United States for the first time. This is her testimony. I was mocked for bringing Chinese food to lunch to the point where I eventually started buying school lunch. I was told by a substitute teacher in 7th grade to use my Americanized name instead of my Chinese name on the roster because it was difficult for her to pronounce. Elementary classmates said ching chong to my face, slanted their eyes at me, asked me if I ate dogs, and despite all these things, would always turn to me to beg for homework answers. All these racist incidents had happened in a span of less than 6 years in the PYLUSD district, and will continue in the future if no action is taken. Through student perspectives, it is shown that racial discrimination is extremely common. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Abigail Lee. I would like to say that although not everyone in this district is a perpetrator, turning a blind eye to the mistreatment that has happened to our students for years, it has what has been enabling people to hurt innocent students in PYLUSD. There is proof that racism in our district is real, and it is crucial to acknowledge its existence in order to even start taking action. The testimonies we have presented before you today simply portray a fraction of the discrimination that has hurt students systemically or by individuals. Ignoring the problem simply because you may not have experienced it firsthand is only going to enable the mistreatment of students in this district. We are not only speaking for ourselves, but hundreds of students who will not stand for this behavior. Our mission is not to push an agenda. We are simply asking for you to listen and provide us with the support we need. That is because we truly believe that if you just take a moment to empathize with our experiences, change is most definitely possible. Thank you.
Yes. Is Barrett Elder here? Is there anyone in the foyer that we're not aware of? I think everyone made it into the room. So Barrett Elder. Okay, I'm going to continue on then. The next individuals to come forth will be Shari Palaki, followed by Mrs. G, followed by Nathaniel Snyder.
Hi there. I have 4 kids. One of them we actually dropped off at college today for the first time. She's a graduate, a recent graduate at PYLUSD. And as my husband and I said goodbye to her, you know, I'm looking at her and she's solid, she's ready, she's confident, and she had a great education. She had great mentors. And as I was driving back here, I was thinking to myself, what did she not have? What's different? And you know what? She didn't have that 8th and 9th grade sex ed that we all have now in our schools. And she didn't have these ridiculous assemblies. They actually shot off rockets and learned about science when she was younger. They didn't have sensitive news articles on these $56,000 programs we called News ELA, and she certainly didn't have slideshows, elaborate ones in middle school damning our police community. But I can assure you she's not racist, and I can assure you she knows about the birds and the bees, and I can assure you that she has a very high level of respect for our police community, and I'm grateful for that. But I have 3 other kids that I'm clearly worried about, and that's why I'm here every single month. These 3 new school board members, they ran on campaigns about family first and academic first. And we all worked really hard to get you all into these spots. And I'm asking you to please, please stay committed to what you said you were going to do and get rid of these ridiculous programs. Thank you.
Hello, thank you for listening to me tonight. As I have spoke to our assessor back and forth today about who would pay the fine and how much the fine would be. So I've been told it's been $1,000 fine if we send our kids to school, if our district defies those orders. And it hasn't been cleared up yet if it'll be $1,000 fine, a reoccurring fine or a one-time fine and possible jail time. Who does that jail time? He says he's not quite sure yet. It may be him since he's the head person of our district. I think all of us in this room just about would be willing to pay that $1,000 fine, even if it was daily, I don't know, monthly, yearly, one-time fee. I don't know. I said most, not all. Thank you. Yeah. So you know what? We need to figure this out. We need to get it on our agenda, and we need to have parents' choice for a mask or no mask. I'm tired of playing ping pong with Dr. Chow, Andrew Doe, then telling me to come back to you guys, our superintendent. It's enough. These kids are dying. These kids are literally dying at home. They cannot go back to school with masks again. I will not send my kid back. But you know what? My children do want to go back, and it breaks my heart. Last night my daughter told me, Mom, I will get the shot now if it means I can just go back to school and be normal again. This is enough, you guys. I cannot take it anymore. Thank you for your time.
Hello, I'm Nathaniel Snyder. I'm here representing my wife, Erica, and our 2 kids, first grader and third grader. And we have moved into Yorba Linda just recently, and I've heard great things about this district and the education that you provide for students. Thank you so much. What you do is not easy. What you teachers do is not easy. Parents, thank you so much for being here and continue to be a voice, because this is where change happens. But I do want to say that my wife and I are on the fence if our kids are going to go to Yorba Linda Travis Ranch School, which again, I've heard great things about, or continue to stay in a private education. One of those things is the masks that are being required. And I would propose that we consider the mask choice by parents. I am a pastor in the area, and I have seen hundreds of kids come through our ministries where we allow the choice for the mask to be worn or not to be worn. And the science that I have seen, I have not seen an outbreak. And so I consider, or I would hope that you would consider to allow our parents to make that choice for the kids. I do know that there are kids in the middle school age that have worn masks for a year and now are finding it more comfortable to keep the mask on versus the zit that's on their face. We all had a difficult time going through puberty. I can attest to that. We didn't have to deal with masks on our face, and now finding it easier to keep those on versus the reality that some of us face with just being who God has created us to be. So please consider the freedom of choice for our kids to wear their mask or not to. Thank you.
The next individuals coming forward will be Kristen Mortensen, Amber Gribben, and Curtis McCathern.
Hi, Hi, my name's Kristen. I have 2 students in the district, and like somebody previously said, we all have a choice right now. We're in a room very close together, not wearing masks, many of us. Why are we gonna make our children do that? I want to tell you about my son. He's an honor roll student. He's afraid to get in trouble. He complies with everything. He's embarrassed to go outside of the norm. I'm really concerned about him with the mask, though. He has a medical exemption, which he didn't use last year because he was embarrassed. He has fainting migraines, which lead to vomiting. One day in school, just a couple years ago, he fell out of his chair, scraped his whole face up. They had to call the ambulance. I got there before them, so I was able to take him. But he doesn't know when these episodes are going to come on, so he can't prevent them. But restricting somebody's breathing when they're going to faint is not okay. It's not appropriate. And even if he feels that he's getting a headache, he doesn't know how bad it's going to be. He's going to be embarrassed being singled out. I'm going to have to take off this mask. I'm going to say something. He would let himself faint. Who's liable when that happens? You guys need to make a choice. And why is it not even on the agenda tonight? You need to make a choice to make this optional, or tell the teachers, don't enforce it. Yes, it's our rule. We have to have masks, but don't enforce it. What about the 5-year-old that thinks that they're going to get kicked out of school because they don't have their mask on, and they've got like sores all over their face, which was happening, and they're getting depressed and not learning and not able to see their peers and their teachers and have that emotional connect. So you need to be clear with the teachers and the parents about enforcement and it being optional. Again, who's liable when my son faints next time?
Hello, good evening. First, I would like to thank the 3 board members that were representing the parents who spoke at the last meeting and then sent the request to the OC Board of Education, who unanimously voted to challenge Newsom over this ridiculous child mask mandate. But that brings me to tonight, where we, the parents, want to know where that leaves us. The board has voted agreeing that parents should have a choice whether the kids wear a mask or not. And so we want to know what that means when school starts. The state left the enforcement up to individual school districts, and we as parents want to know what that will look like. There are many families who do not want to see their kids in masks, and some are considering leaving if that is the case. When at least 50 or more students show up without a mask every single day to every site in our district, will that be okay? Will this be a recommendation or a mandate? Can we sign a waiver releasing our students from having to wear them? And if not, they cannot be suspended under the school ed code of 48900 as long as they are respectful when they are being defiantly refusing to wear a mask. They will have to remain in school. They have to get the proper education that they deserve. So we just want to know where we're at, where it stands. And lastly, I just also want to take a quick moment, since my timer hasn't gone off yet, and say that we also are planning on challenging the critical race theory and ethnic studies that are coming in. Most of us do not agree that most of those articles on there are definitely not school appropriate. They should be left for the home and continue working on focusing on basic education, math, science, reading, writing, the basics.
I need to have, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board, the superintendents, for hearing us out tonight. The plural of anecdote is not data. I am nonetheless going to share with you that there is a 14-year-old boy in Orange County right now who is struggling after a month later after having COVID with the side effects of COVID that have led him to have hallucinations and psychotic episodes. There are side effects to getting COVID that are not dying. You should not just ask yourself, are people going to die? COVID is very, very dangerous. The Delta variant is very dangerous. I have here printed out with me tonight, but do not have time to read. Kristen Bain, who is an MD at the University of Medicine, University of Arizona College of Medicine in the Internal Medicine Department, for 18 months. She's gone through a strict decontamination procedure every night after leaving the hospital to return to her family. After 3 days in an Arizona school district that did not require masks, her son acquired COVID. 18 months following the rules versus 3 days just recently and here in August. That's actually not what I want to talk about here tonight. My remaining 20 seconds, I want to throw my support behind the idea of ethnic studies here. We've heard stories from students who, as they were talking about with the bindi, the dot that Hindus have, when I asked questions about this in college of my friend who had a bindi, she told me about Bindu, and she told me about this amazing lore and world that she was able to inhabit growing up. And that's exactly the kind of history that we want taught in our schools. Thanks.
All right, the remaining four will begin with Diane Kane, followed by Stephanie Maurer, followed by Sue Ballas, and followed by Sadia Moinudin.
Good evening, board members. My name is Diane Canny. I'm a 40-year resident of the PYLUSD. I live in the Travis Ranch attendance area. I came here, it seems like we're all talking about math, so what you need to know is that I'm a scientist by training, and I follow the science. It isn't just about death, and it isn't just about me, it's about you. It's about transmitting the virus to other people. That's the reason for wearing a mask. It's not just to protect you, it's to protect the other people in the classroom, in the room. And that's why I still wear one, because I have a immune compromised person in my home. So even though I'm vaccinated, I didn't come here to talk about masks. I came here to talk about early graduation from the PYLUSD. I have 3 children. The last just graduated from college. That last student and all of my students were in the Gifted and Talented program when they were here in PYLUSD. But at various times, I have pulled all of my children, all 3 of them, out of PYLUSD to a private school. And my last one would be the example of that. What I'm advocating for here is that you decide what does a person need to know, not what courses do they need to take, what do they need to know before they graduate from the school. I'll come back another day and talk more about what I believe on this, okay? But I think you need to be thinking about what is it that they need to know. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Stephanie Maurer. I have 3 daughters in this district, and this needs to become a mask of choice. I've had enough of this, that it's about everyone else. If you're afraid of catching COVID, you're worried about your family members, then you put that mask on and stop making it so my children cannot breathe. I have an older daughter who came home every day with migraines and hardly could do her homework because she was so stuck breathing in that mask and tired of it. I had another daughter that I found out wasn't wearing her glasses all year because they kept fogging up regardless of what fogging solution, so she couldn't see. I've had enough of this. This is time for choice. Parents get to choose, yes or no. If you're afraid of your kid catching COVID and don't want to around them, then we have great options. We have Buena Vista, we have other options for you. And this needs to stop because this is not fair to our children. They are not learning properly, and enough is enough.
Good evening. I'm asking this question because there's a lot of vaccinated people out there that are getting sick, and they're not realizing that they're getting sick because of the vaccine. So I have a question, and I will take, I need an answer, but if you don't answer, I'll just take that as a yes. It's a new world, right? With new rules. So here you go. Do you have the authority? I'm not asking you if you're going to be doing this. I'm asking you, do you have the authority to do pop-up clinics at the schools and vaccinate our children? You do, don't you?
I am going to state, because I failed to notify, because there are some that would be aware, we do not address and comment back to those at the podium. If there is something that's posed as a question, which you have done, someone from staff will get with you.
Okay, great. But think about that. They've hired all of these health people. What are they for? Either to take care of the masked children who are going through hyperventilation, or to do a pop-up clinic to vaccinate your kids. Think about it. You know what? Children have their own consent. I'm from high school. In fact, this district hired me at one point and I left, but you don't know who I am, but I'm somebody that you do know. Anyway, I'm not going to tell right now, but you can think about that. Anyway,
I do need to have you, you have
Thank
to.
you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Dr. Sadia Moinuddin. I'm an internal medicine hospitalist, and I've been working on the front lines treating COVID patients since March 2020. And I also have two daughters that go to Placentia Yorba Linda District School. And they're unvaccinated because they're under 12 years old. As I'm sure you already know, the Delta variant is on the rise. Right now, we're starting to see more cases again in the hospital, while 3 months ago, I had nothing and things had been really good. But now we're starting to open up our COVID wards again. And I have absolutely zero reason to lie about anything, because I have had to gown up every single day and come home, decontaminate, take a shower, protect my kids. So the cases, the pediatric hospitalizations across the country are about 300 a day, which has been the highest since the pandemic. I have been in touch with my pediatric colleagues and hearing about young, especially 1 month old to 11-year-old kids having to be on a ventilator and with no previous comorbidities. I understand we talk about death as an outcome, but even if somebody has a comorbidity, doesn't mean they deserve to die, and that we are going to take our mask off and give them COVID. Unfortunately, I actually, sorry, my time's up, but if I can have a couple more minutes.
I'm sorry, we don't do that.
Okay.
I realize, but we do not allow any different amount of
Sure.
time. So thank you, though.
Okay.
All right. Okay, moving on in our agenda. This evening, we of course will not have our student board report. I don't believe anything was submitted, right? Okay, so I will move it on to our superintendent for your report.
Thank you. President Freeman, trustees, and executive cabinet members. Last week was an exciting one as we welcome back all of our principals following their summer breaks. District administrators, principals, and assistant principals came together to reconnect and discuss the new school year, which begins on Tuesday, August 31st. As we look ahead, the theme of our 2021-2022 school year is Rebound, Reignite, Reestablish, which speaks to the focus that we will have on ensuring that students rebound from the events of the past 18 months while reigniting and reestablishing their love of learning. All of our staff members will play a crucial role in making this year a success, but in particular, our teachers will be charged with navigating the unique academic challenges that may lay ahead for students. So as we work on how we will be rebounding, reigniting, and reestablishing, it is important that our teachers feel completely prepared to enter the new year. It is around that concept that our 2021 Early Bird Professional Development Opportunity was created. Beginning next Monday, August 16th, teachers across the district will have the opportunity to participate in online professional development sessions appropriate for all grade levels and content areas from transitional kindergarten through 12th grade. Many of these sessions are hosted by our very own outstanding PYLUSD classroom teachers. The full course catalog has already been shared with teachers, and we look forward to kicking off Early Bird PD the PYL way next week. I want to thank our entire Educational Services Department under the leadership of Dr. Adamson for their efforts in this area. As I foreshadowed earlier, the start of the new school year is right around the corner, and our staff continues to plan for the arrival of our students and staff members. We look forward to resuming a traditional full-time on-campus learning model while continuing to follow all guidance as set forth by the California Department of Public Health and the Orange County Healthcare Agency. More details about next school year will be shared with staff and families in the coming weeks. We appreciate our entire community's ongoing partnership as we continue to review and implement ever-changing state and local guidance in time for the new year. Thank you. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Thank you very much. All right. Well, we're at consent calendar. Okay. So we have 29 items that are on the consent calendar. These are all items that are deemed routine in nature. We do have the information ahead of time. Of course, we have our whole agenda ahead of time. And we come prepared to vote on these as a block. However, if there's anything that anyone wishes to handle separately, it can be held at this time. Does anyone have anything to removing from the agenda? No? Okay, then I will take a motion to approve the consent calendar.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent calendar.
Thank you. I have a motion from Mrs. Anderson and a second from Mrs. Blades. Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion has passed unanimously 4-0. Okay, now we're to general functions. So first, if I may, on item 1, I would like a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve resolution number 21-06, Constitution Day Education Program.
I'll second.
Thank you. Motion from Mr. Youngblood, second from Mrs. Blade. I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Adamson.
Well, thank you so much, and good evening, President Freeman, trustees, Superintendent Alsassa, Executive Cabinet, and community members. It is my pleasure to bring before you for your approval this evening, resolution number 2106, entitled Constitution Day Education Program. Both federal and state laws require districts to hold commemorative exercises for U.S. Constitution Day each year on or near September 17th. The requirements include the offering of educational programs and lessons for all students in grades K through 12 that pertain specifically to the teachings of the United States Constitution. This year, on September 17th, the Central Yorba Linda Unified School District schools will offer activities and instruction that cover the purpose, the meaning, and importance of the Constitution of the United States, while also instilling a sense of pride amongst our students for our country. Examples of these activities may include, but are not limited to, poster contests, student announcements, discussion in social science classes, skits, essay contests, and grade-appropriate lessons. Thank you once again for your consideration of this resolution. Do you have any questions or suggestions?
Any comments or questions?
The only thing I was going to add, because this resolution is done annually, is at the very bottom where in the now therefore be it resolved section, September 17th, I just think we should add the year.
Absolutely, we can do that.
Everybody agrees?
Very good. Fine. Sure.
Okay.
Okay. Anything else? Okay, good. All right, with that one addition into there, let's go ahead and take our vote on this item for this resolution. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion has passed unanimously 4-0. Moving on to the second item, I would like to have a motion first.
I'll make a motion for this revised board policy 6141.5 independent study, second reading.
I'll second.
Thank you. I have a motion from Mrs. Anderson and a second from Mr. Youngblood. And again, Dr. Adamson, if you
Thank
would.
you once again. Well, the TK through grade 12 education budget trailer bill, SB 130, which was released on July 6, 2021, includes significant changes to independent study, requiring that all school agencies revise their adopted board policies for independent study and to rewrite any existing student-parent written agreements within 30 days of the start of instruction, all as a means to incorporate the changes in law for the 21-22 school year. As part of the new requirements, all PYL parents and guardians were notified of their options via an email that went out yesterday, August 9th, ensuring we are in compliance with informing families in writing prior to the start of the school year. SB 130 authorizes independent study for any pupil whose health would be put at risk by in-person instruction as determined by the parent or guardian, which essentially adds medical concerns to the list of reasons why students may opt for a remote instruction plan for the 21-22 school year. The new provisions for independent study could also be preferable for students who are too young to be vaccinated or students with other exceptional circumstances, such as traveling athletes, for example. After hearing the board's suggestions from our previous meeting and after a second review of the available content and resources, we have proposed a few additional revisions for your review this evening, allowing us to bring a final draft forward for your approval at September's board meeting. Thank you for your consideration of tonight's policy changes. Do you have any questions or suggestions? Any questions, comments?
I have a question, but let's just start with the easy stuff, like the changes. Start basic. So on paragraph 9, which is on page 65, it's basically the third paragraph from the bottom. It reads, satisfactory educational progress is determined based on a pupil's achievement and engagement, completion of assignments, learning required concepts, and progressing towards completion of the course of study or specific course. And I was just wondering why achievement and engagement were combined. Can't we just make it a comma, excuse me?
Separate
it instead of.
Absolutely, yeah, that would be an easy change. So it would read based on pupil achievement, comma, engagement.
Completion of assignments, comma, learning required concepts, and progressing towards.
Is that consensus among the board for that?
Yes, that sounds good.
You're good? Okay.
Everyone good with that? Nodding heads? Okay. Okay. And did you have additional questions?
Yeah, I have an additional question. With all the revisements, I noticed that there's a lot of wording in here that goes, like if you were in comprehensive or traditional, and then you went to independent study, and then if you went from independent study back to comprehensive. And I noticed in the second paragraph, page 64, everyone is there. It talks about how students in a traditional independent study wishing to return to a regular classroom instruction can be transitioned from the independent study school to comprehensive school within 5 days, but it doesn't give the opposite the same privileges, if that makes sense.
It does.
Yeah, it does. And that is exactly, there is no wording, and we've looked through the bill that actually indicates, the amount of time that should occur when the opposite request is being asked. I think just, our, commitment would obviously be if it's prior to the beginning of the school year, we would make sure that we, are able to accommodate that request before the school year begins, so we can start the student at the independent school of choice. And then if it is during the year, really it's, it really would be something that we would accommodate as, to the greatest extent possible within the smallest amount of time. But the bill itself does not state any time limit for that.
But
request.
it doesn't preclude us from adding a time limit so that it's fair going either way. Is that
Absolutely not.
correct?
We can put in that language. I see where you're going with it. Absolutely. Yeah.
I'm just trying to make it, if you want to go one way or go the other way, I just feel like it should be on an even playing field.
And that, since we're going to see this a third time, there would be
Absolutely.
time to look to be sure there's nothing that would
Preclude it.
Right.
Yeah, as long as there's nothing in the law that says that we can't do it, I would think that we could do something like that.
Absolutely. I'm silent on it. Sure. Okay.
So
We'll explore that.
Look into it, and then we will
Absolutely,
see
yeah.
this again, because even though typically we do 2 readings. We can do multiple readings. So
Yeah. Well,
that's
this
fine.
version is way different. than
Well,
the-
it really did bump it up from the last version we saw at our last meeting.
Yeah.
And that's because that language was
The-
available to.
Exactly. We didn't have the
Incorporate.
resources at our disposal when we, wrote the first version. So yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So
So
that's
we will,
perfect.
we will explore and add that language. Absolutely.
Okay.
So we have these 2 issues, the comma and then the second paragraph. Anything
Right.
else that you want to address?
No, I just
before?
was going to, at the last meeting, I brought up, and Mrs. Freeman also brought up, the,
The striking of
the
that, and it's back in.
and it's back in now. So,
Yeah.
we're,
Yeah.
I'm just wanted to say,
Okay.
thank you. And I also noticed, I think it's paragraphs 7 through 10, they kind of do the clear statement, and there's a lot more detail. So thank you
Yes,
so much
a
for
lot
that.
more.
I
Well,
appreciate that.
no, thank you for the input. It was very helpful.
Okay. Well, what we have before us is a revision. It's not the final adoption. So what we're going to be moving forward with on a vote right now will be just that we've had a second reading and we're still revising, and it may look a little different even on the third reading. So we'll see. Okay, so any other questions? I want to be sure I didn't miss anyone's question or comment. Okay, let's go ahead and then take a vote on this second item. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion has passed unanimously 4-0. Okay, next item, if I may have a motion in a second.
I'll make a motion to adopt board policy 4033, lactation accommodation, second reading.
I'll second.
Thank you. I have a motion from Mrs. Blades, a second by Mrs. Anderson. Mr. Lopez.
Thank you, President Freeman. It's my pleasure to introduce Human Resources Director Nancy Blade to the lectern to present the second reading of proposed board policy 4033.
President Freeman, members of the board, Superintendent Elsasser, and Executive Cabinet. Included on the agenda tonight is a proposed recommendation to adopt board policy 4033, lactation accommodation, second reading. Pursuant to Labor Code 1034, as added by SB 142, districts are mandated to develop policy regarding lactation accommodations, which include a break time, a private and readily available location, and the opportunity for an employee to have lactation accommodations without discrimination or retaliation. When presented at the July 27th board meeting, there were no suggested changes to the first reading. The second reading on the agenda tonight affords the board the opportunity to adopt the proposed board policy 4033, lactation accommodation. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. Any questions? Okay. All right. Yes, as I noticed too, there's absolutely no changes since we saw it last time. All right. With that, let's go ahead and take our vote on it. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion has passed unanimously 4-0. Okay, now we go on to board information, and that is our fourth quarter financial report. And with that, I will turn it over to Mr. Giordano.
Well, thank you and good evening. Tonight, we're going to be presenting the 2021 fourth quarter financial report. And this report includes cash balances for the past 3 years. And page 2 of that report illustrates those balances in graphic form. Our district's not anticipating the need for any temporary borrowing, at least in the near term, although our fiscal services team will continue to monitor cash flow needs for any changes in those requirements. Pages 3 and 4 of the report include cash balances in all funds, excluding ASBs of approximately $178.3 million. Pages 5 through 7 of the report provides an accounting of our ASB cash on hand, as well as the balance sheet activity in those accounts. And also included is the Orange County Treasurer's Report for the month ended June 30th of 2021. And you'll note that the current net yield for deposits in the Orange County investment pool is running 0.77%. And that concludes the 2021 fourth quarter investment report.
Thank you. Are there any questions on this?
I have a question. On page 3, it talks about the workman's comp trust with the impress of 45,000 of the balance, and that is replenished, and it's an up to balance. Is there a minimum balance that account can't fall below?
Yeah, it's a good question. There is no minimum account balance that it can't fall below. We like to keep it up as high as closely as possible to that impressed level or that pressed balance of 45,000. We never want to get down to a point where we expended funds and we don't have that revolving fund to make a payment. So our team replenishes that pretty much on a weekly basis. And so we always try to keep it as close to that $45,000 balance as possible.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
No other questions? Okay. Well, thank you very much. I think we all always take a look at the status of ASB funds and and of course, now that we get back to what will hopefully be much more like we expect schools to be in terms of how they operate, things will start changing more, of course, in that area. But thank you. And again, thank you for the forward information, early information, of course, reminding us of why there's that larger balance in the ASB for Esperanza and what's going on there. Okay, well, thank you. Okay, it's communications time, which is the opportunity for us to share things that we've done at the schools or school activities or professional development with schools, et cetera, et cetera. So I'll start with Mr. Youngblood, if that's okay.
Of course.
Of course. I can first.
As far as any professional development, I'm looking forward to some conferences that'll be coming up here this end of this month and beginning of next month. Looking for some educational type conferences that will give me a little more heads up of how to do this job. I did mention, however, in the last meeting in regards to cameras in the classrooms and so forth. And I've been given a lot of information regarding that. Mostly some of the education law, something called FERPA law. I don't know if any of you guys know it, but it's a Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act. So there's some things I have to kind of navigate through in order to look at if it is even possible to do in our district. So I'm continuing to look for that. I do appreciate the emails in which you guys are sending me regarding any of these things. We're covering a lot of topics, including mass choice and the curriculum and so forth. And guys, this is going to be a continuous battle for us. So be prepared to do the long haul on this. Educate yourselves. Don't be afraid to ask questions, in which it seems like a lot of people are definitely being more bold in doing so. We want to get through this. We want to get through it together, and mostly with parents having the choice of what is right for their child. So we're going to continue to do our due diligence. Please continue to bear with us and give us information and just things in which you guys are seeing out there as well that can help us better prepare our kids for education, because this is really what it's all about, is to get these kids educated properly. Okay, all of the social issues, we're not training advocates up here or for our kids. We're not training them to be advocates for whatever. We want them to be educated and citizens, good citizens for this country, and to succeed mostly. So thank you. Continue the good work, parents. That's all I have, President.
Thank you. Mrs. Plates.
Well, good evening. So we're coming to the end of summer, and it's kind of a bummer, but it's also super exciting because I think kids are, hopefully getting ready to go back to school. Looking forward to like the fall activities. I'm really excited that we're having middle school sports again. And so that's something for our middle schoolers to look forward to. I'm just going to hit on a few points. Once again, I would like to look into the lights at El Dorado. And I think that would be an amazing thing for El Dorado High School. I can't imagine not attending a high school and a football field that didn't have lights. And I think that's something the El Dorado community would really like. It would impact so many of their sports programs, their band program. I mean, it just would open up a whole new world for El Dorado High School. So I'd like to continue to look into that. The News ELA was very controversial and people brought it up. So I also did some more digging. And what some teachers have told me is the alternative to that has been a program called ReadWorks. So I was also wondering if we should possibly look into that as a substitute if need be, if we decide to go another route either now or in the future. I've also had some parents come forward and ask that we look into a sex ed curriculum, and it's called HEART. And so I was also hoping that we can maybe look into that and see if that would be a better fit for our district. And I also wanted everyone to know that on the consent calendar, we approved 2 school resource police officers because PYLUSD backs, well, I back the blue. And then so I have, I wrote this out because it's kind of a little emotional for me. So I was just kind of some of my thoughts. And so I didn't want to, it's just better sometimes if I write it out to get my point across. So this is my prepared version. Although Officer Ella French is not an employee of PYLUSD or associated with us, it is important we take a moment to pause and hold a moment of silence for her. And reflecting about the many emails and phone calls I've received over the last few weeks and months, the same trend persists, whether the person speaking to me was for or against the issues we discussed here, like math, ethnic studies, critical race theory. We have reached a point in our society where you have to take sides. It's hard to believe we have come to a point where you have to choose side with a race or police. I can stand here today and say that all lives do matter. People mattering should never be at the expense of others. This rhetoric and the actions behind it needs to stop. Today, in honor of fallen fellow officer, I want to stand together. As a former police officer and mother, I couldn't help but sob to think that because of the division in our society, that a little girl will grow up without her mother. I know full well her school system will be tasked with picking up so many broken and missing people. So I'd like to close tonight in her honor and ask our community to make the commitment to work together and not let these issues divide us. We are losing focus on what matters most, our kids. We need to make the commitment to honor our kids' voices and find ways to do so without it being at the expense of others. We need to find ways to ensure our students receive the highest quality education while being welcomed in our schools, respected, and embraced for who they are, even when they have difficult moments. So much of we discuss revolves around very adult problems. And at this time, we are not doing a good job. In our adult world, we continue to see division in the headlines, which often follows with someone dying. So in honor of Ella French's 2-month-old, I want us to remember the responsibility we have to serve our kids. No more division. Tonight's call to action is to first acknowledge that we are a community that is divided on issues. Now that we have identified our current reality, we have to make the commitment to ensure that we stay focused on our students' needs. I want to ask, as we disagree about these issues, that we are mindful about how we speak to one another and about one another. I have heard since the time I took office the need to give a voice to our students of color, support mental health, provide a more representative curriculum, and to give freedom such as activities and peer interaction to our kids. This board, in spite of what PYL headlines may say, is working actively on this. If we are going to move forward in our work, we need to stop this battling. There's not much more at this point that can be said. Now we need to allow our district office to take this feedback that we heard tonight and that we've been hearing for the past few months and put it into action according to the guidelines they have been given by the state and federal laws. As a public community, our spirit needs to shift for the purpose of our kids. Let's allow our district time and space to put together the timelines, resources, information that will help better inform us on how the students' needs are being met, not the adult agenda. And I had to write that because it really hit me hard this weekend because I remember specifically when my oldest was 2 months old. I remember putting on my vest and having to go out in the field that night and wondering if I was going to come home and if I'd ever hold my baby again and who would raise my kid. So seeing what's happening to our police officers going on out there, it just broke my heart. I actually did kind of break down a little bit for this mom, because that's probably her last thought, was probably her baby that was at home. So if we can, and if I could get the board majority, I would love to end, even though she's not represented with PYLUSD, just because she is a law enforcement officer, she's a mom, to end in her honor tonight. Thank you.
Mrs. Anderson.
Hello. I don't have very much to speak on tonight as we just met 2 weeks ago. But since our last meeting, I watched the OC with Liberty and Justice for All that the OC Department of Ed put on regarding ethnic studies and critical race theory. And then I've also started watching the forum on ethnic studies from the Orange County Board of Education. I'm about halfway through. And there's a lot of interest in ethnic studies and critical race theory. And the Board of Education is putting on another forum on Tuesday, August 26th at 6 p.m. And you can go and watch it in person, and it also will be streamed. And there's more information on their website, and it's listed if you go there, it's under special meetings, because it took me a little bit to find it. So I thought I'd just give you a little heads up on that. And then I'm looking forward to the leadership symposium this Thursday, and starting to see the wheels turn for school to start.
Thank you. Okay, well, mine is also very abbreviated because there hasn't been that very much happening yet. I was at the Back to School and Service last Thursday, the 5th, for ROP. And so just like we can do here, if we are all vaccinated, it's not an educational environment because the students are here. So that's why we're able to gather and not have masks as long as we do our self-attestation. And some wear their masks, which they can do if they weren't vaccinated or if they choose to, as some do. I have some friends who still have compromised health or family members with compromised health who wear their masks that day. But the Back to School in Service was great. Coincidentally, the two curriculum coordinators are recently out of our schools. One from an Esperanza ROP teacher is now a curriculum coordinator, and then another teacher with ROP at Valencia. So it was really kind of fun for me to sit there after we had the morning program and then see the two of them launch into going through for all the 5 districts what they need to do. We have, just like here, we have a lot of new instructors in ROP, and just like here, they're coming from all over. It's really kind of fun because, again, it just brings in new ideas, fresh energy, and all that. So that was a really good day. And our theme was the 70s, which everyone really bought into. So that was fun. It was the entertainment just to come in the door, and see everyone and what they decided to wear. As you say, our management symposium is coming up day after tomorrow. I look forward to that because once again, it's been a long time since we've really been able to do that. But as we move a little further ahead, even though we are doing so cautiously, we were able to do that on Thursday. Also, just for help for those who might not know, when we're elected to the board, we're elected by areas. I'm on the county committee, which I've been on for many years, and we went through that whole process with nearly every school district, including our community colleges, and that's transitioning from being elected at large to being elected by areas. But I just want to let it be understood clearly that whereas we're elected by areas, we represent, when we come in here as electeds, we represent every student. And so our charge is not just those in our area from where we're elected, it's to be responsible and attentive to all students throughout the whole district. So we have that responsibility, and I just want that to be perhaps a moment of clarity so that we don't look just at a part of our population. Our charge is to be watchful for everyone, and that's staff and our students first and foremost. So I just wanted to share that with you since that's something that I've been going through with. It's a committee of 11 at the county level. We meet at the district, the county board, and then we go to each district as they go through it. We came here when we went through that change to area elections. But I just want to have that be clear. We have to look out for everyone, and we should. That's so important. So with that, I will go forward with the adjournment. Yes, and I will say that it is not our commonplace to do other than those connected to the school district. Also, as I understand, this is a person, sadly, that has gone through this in another state. Today, we lost another fireman. I know we have people here. My son wears a vest as a fireman when he goes out with SWAT. So I understand the importance, but yet our tradition has been that we do this action on behalf of those that are part of our district. And so I'll just say that again, because we have new people, that I will entertain whatever motion comes to me. So please,
I'll
take a motion.
I'll make a motion to adjourn in memory of Officer Ella French, Chicago Police Department.
I second.
I have a motion from Mrs. Blades and a second from Mr. Youngblood. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? We stand adjourned at 8:23. That is really nice. Thank you all for being here this evening. We look forward to seeing you in the future. Have a safe drive home. Thank you.